Well, welcome to our event today. Today's golden opportunities. I always like that, golden opportunities. We've already discussed that we're puffy. Now we're going to talk about being golden and opportunities of buying and selling for mature adults. That's what we're going to talk about. So how many of you have had an idea like this on your mind? What would that look like? Okay. So today's seminar, we're going to cover some of those things. One of the other things that we'll talk about today, which y'all know because several of you have been here before, is that we always plan for Q&A because that's also the time that we do our giveaways. So you'll have a place in your handout where you can write down your questions. That way, when that time comes, you'll have it and you won't have to worry about, oh, I forgot that and I needed to tell them then. Also, our team. This is our team. John and I are the originators of this team. John and I actually got started with our parents when it came to focusing on 55 and older, but we've been in the real estate business for a long time. And as time went on, we found that we really needed help. And that's when Debbie joined us. And a lot of you know Debbie's been with us 10 years this year. So Debbie puts a lot of these things together for us. And we have two other people that have joined us. One of them you've met a little while ago, John. So what's kind of funny about this is that I have a John, and the other member of our team is a John. And Beth, who is a new member to our team, her husband's named John as well. So it makes it easy for us to say John and see who answers. And our videographer back here is also John.
Yeah. We only work with Johns.
We only work with Johns. So this is our team, and what we have now on our team is we've got 4 real estate agents that are right-sizing specialists, and then we also have Debbie, who is our operations manager. This is a copy of our business model, and this just shows you all the different things that we do. And the reason that we like to show this is a lot of times people say, well, let me just call them and see if they could give me the name of an estate sale person. And what we've done is we have built partners around ourselves for many years now, going on 14 years, that we feel comfortable helping you when the need is there. So we have handyman contractors, we've got estate liquidators, we've got 3 different estate sales going on right now with our clients, movers and packers, and one of our partners that's here today has had the experience with our packer, a couple of members from her team, just recently, Carrie, and they are just thrilled because they've packed them up and unpacked them when they got to their new place. And then, of course, we have elder law attorneys that work with us as well and financial planners. But that's the makeup of our team, which started out being real estate. And then we went to build a move management company with all the services. And we also decided that having seminars are good for us because, like I've said before, there's a lot for us to learn as we get older. I want to learn about it. John wants to learn about it, but it's more fun and we can share it all together. So that's why we've been putting these things together. So let's look at this. As we talk about housing, which is really our thing that we're engaged in all the time, it's important for us to know that there are a lot of people that are out there that are aging and 65 plus. What you can see here right now, 2020, there were 54.8 million older adults turning 65 at that time. And by 2030, what we're going to see is 72.3. Now, what does that mean to you? That means that there's a lot more people that are aging and getting older than there are millennials, et cetera, that are out there right now in the market. There's going to come a time where there's going to be, hi, Jim, how are you? There's going to be more people that are older than there are younger. And so what does that mean to us? I probably need to switch with you. What this shows you is just kind of a housing a graphic that gives you an idea. Now, this is not just for homes for purchase, but this is also going to be homes for lease. What you can see in 2015, there was a need for 1.4 million units, 100,000 units of homes that were going to be available for individuals that were older for purchase or for lease. And then as we look at what's coming up, what do we need next? We need at least 3.2 million. So there's a lot of things that are going on out there to satisfy older adults when it comes to housing. As a matter of fact, what we see here is that there's more demand for options. Now, you know, when we're in a community here where people are building homes or moving into homes that have been built. The front part of this community here at the Viridian is what we call multi-generational. And that's where we're going to see more one-story, two-story homes, larger homes, whereas on the back side of the Viridian, we're seeing the Elements. And the Elements is really more designed for 62 and older, smaller homes, one-story homes, even 1.5 story. But typically, you're not going to see something that's going to be a large home there. You see wider doorways, all of those things that are necessary for us to age in place. What else do we have here? So builders are having to make changes. You know, they order things in lots. All those doorways that they have there, what's the typical size, John, of is it 32?
Sometimes the front doors are 32 to 36, but most of the interior doors are still 28 to 30 inches.
Right.
Which I was on a walker recently after a knee replacement, and you have to go sideways to get through the door. And I ordered the smallest walker I could find, and it still didn't fit through the bathroom doors of our house.
So it's a challenge because some of those pre-made models that have specific doorways, typically like you'd see out here in the multi-generational, when you come to housing for an adult that wants to stay longer, you need to have those types of amenities, wider doorways, less steps, those kinds of things. So they're really having to remake their design so that they can satisfy a larger audience. I would say in the real estate world, whether it's a new home or a pre-owned home, the ones that are in more demand are the one-story homes. You know why? Because you can live in them longer, right? So that's what we're seeing a lot of. So let's talk about selling your home. Oops.
Well, it starts with hiring the right real estate agent when you're ready. And you may not be ready for a couple years, but actually we have clients that we worked with for 2 years anyway, getting ready to sell. Like there's one gentleman in Colleyville that had us come out and he wanted to repaint his house, and he was asking us about what colors to do and what kind of updates he should be doing in the house, preparing, but his wife is disabled and he's waiting for a while before he makes a move. And but he's preparing for that eventually and making sure his house is ready for that move. So you want to hire somebody, and by the way, this leads into this, somebody with experience. His grandson is a real estate agent in Dallas, but he's like in his 20s, and he says, I love my grandson, but I would never use him because I need somebody that knows my needs, that has all the services that I need to help me move and make this move. It's stressful enough to move, but I need somebody with your kind of experience. So being familiar with senior moves, somebody that communicates and responsive. I mean, that's a big deal, is how well they communicate and keep you updated and explain the process. And when you meet with somebody, you'll probably figure that out pretty quickly, how well of a communicator they are. And like I said, Ingrid and I sometimes work with people a couple years before they're ready to move and visit with them several times over that process. They have the resources you need. Typically, most real estate agents don't have the relationships with movers and packers, especially people that are familiar with working with aging adults. I can't tell you how many times agents from our office call say, who should we call for an estate sale person? Yeah. You know? And so we have several estate liquidators, not just one go-to, because sometimes they need somebody that'll just do a small amount of items or something like that. We have people that can work with that type of estate sale. Vetted, yeah, we don't recommend anybody that we wouldn't use ourselves or have used ourselves, including plumbers, carpenters, and everything. Most of the tradespeople we've recommended have worked in our own house doing things, so we trust them implicitly. Personal service, not just relying on technology, and offers you multiple selling offers when you're ready, which is what we're going to talk about, what we do now.
Yeah. So just kind of adding a couple of things there as you're looking, and one of the things that John mentioned, and we want to make sure that the delivery of that isn't the wrong way. A lot of times when we talk to people and they're thinking about moving, because we are in that business, we will ask if you know somebody, do you already have a real estate agent? Are you work with anybody? Are there questions that we could answer for you? Because we want to be helpful. Oftentimes we will hear things like, well, my granddaughter's going to real estate school and I promised her just as soon as she gets her license that she's going to help me. Or our best friend that we go to church with for years, we play cards with them, we've gotten together, and they want to help us with this. All I would mention to you in this particular situation is a relationship when it comes to selling your home is a business relationship. And you want to think of it this way. When it comes down to meeting your expectations and doing the things that were promised to you, how hard will it be if it's a friend to say, you told me we'd be sold by now. You said this is going to be the right price. You told me you were going to do these things. It's probably not going to be as easy as it would be with a real estate agent that you're hiring as a professional. That's the important thing, because it's a business relationship. So keep that in mind. John, you have the clicker?
I do.
Yeah. There you go. Okay.
Yeah,
great.
I took it away from you.
Super. Okay. So this document is out on the table. Debbie made a few of these just in case it's something that you have interest in. But John's going to talk to us about the differences in services.
Well, these are the selling offers, options that we offer if you're going to sell your house. One we call the traditional real estate sale. We come out and meet with you and talk about your goals, when you have to be moved and that type of thing. Talk about the resources that we can offer you. And we list your house, put the sign in the yard, put it in the multiple listing service and other services. I forget how many sites it goes out to on the internet, but it's over 500. So we market what you would call a traditional real estate sale. We have open houses, which we're actually doing one tomorrow, aren't we?
Tomorrow we're doing one, and then we have one that's going to be for 2 days at a house we have in Granbury.
Yep. And we promote it on social media. Then we have a little bit different. The brokerage we work for has some options that other traditional brokerages don't offer. And one is called a private collection. So the owner of our office owns 15 offices in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, all Keller Williams. And that's about close to 5,000 agents. And so we can do what we call a private collection, and it's a separate website that goes out to those agents who are looking for specific properties. And so a lot of times they'll put requests out there, and we can communicate and make sure,
Free marketing.
What's going on. And then a lot of people have a house that needs some work, and they don't want to do the work, and it's not some of it probably wouldn't pass the inspections needed to get a loan on it sometimes. So they just want to sell it as is. And so we have investor sell options. But the difference is we just don't bring one guy by that says, I buy ugly houses. We have a program called iBuyer with 300 vetted investors on there. And they have to have, I forget how much, $400,000 in the bank.
Ready cash.
Ready cash. And so they're all vetted, and we know that they're going to be good. They've been worked with. And then out of those, we have the top 3 or 4. So sometimes we'll get offers, and then if some of our special investors do it, we'll go back and say, can you bring it up? I just had client that moved to California. He had an older house in Duncanville that needed a lot of work, and I got the investor to come up $10,000 in that. So sometimes that's a good option for you as well.
Yeah. So those are different services, and again, we want to make this generic if we can. That there's all types of different professionals out there, real estate. So when you're looking at who can I find to help me, these are some of the things that you want to be asking for. What are the different services options that you have for me? We've mentioned some of the things that we do that have been really beneficial for us. This last one that John was talking about, iFinder, I will say for myself, I have a woman that I just closed on her house yesterday. She lived in Burleson. She built a brand new home, and it's been since 2008 that she built a brand new home, but her husband passed before she moved into her home. So she's been living now in a 4-bedroom home by herself. Beautiful big home. There were some things, foundation work that was needing to be done on that, and we talked about it and made some decisions about should we go ahead and do the work before, and then maybe later on when you get ready to sell, you pay for the foundation work later. What are some of the options that we have? And she said her daughter was helping her, and she said, we don't want to do any of that. We just want to, my mom's already got a place that she's moving to. She's already got a lease signed. She's got the keys. What can we do that would be different? And so I put that property out there to iFinder, and we ended up with 7 offers right away. That's kind of the nice thing. So as we talk about that, it's a nice way to say, well, let's just stick our toe in the water and see who's going to be interested. And if they don't come back with a number that we were hoping for, then we can go and do the traditional. But in her case, we ended up getting quite a few offers on it, and then we could negotiate back and say, well, you're close, but not close enough. What else can we do here? And it worked out good for her, so that we had an easy transition. She had her estate sale. She had already moved, had her estate sale in her home. Yesterday we closed. She was funded in the afternoon, and we were done. So there's a lot of different ways you can do that. And we say that because unless you're actively involved in the real estate market, you may not be aware of what's out there. What can we do?
Yeah, we just want to give you an easy button that meets your needs.
If that's necessary, yep. So, how has the market changed? This is important. As we talk to people today about the market, because everybody wants to know, there's things going on right now. Interest rates, oh my goodness. Interest rates are going up at the time that I've decided I want to do something. How's that going to impact me? Well, I will tell you that lenders today are using programs that they used 8 years ago for buyers today. Those programs are things like 2-1 buy down. So the buyer really can't be in a 7% interest rate. It's just too much for them. The payment itself is overwhelming. So the seller can offer to do a 2-1 buy down over a period of 25 months, meaning the first year that they are in their home, the seller has set aside monies with the lender that will buy their interest rate down 2 points, 5 points. So it's 5% now for the first year. And the second year, now it goes to the 1 buy down. So now it goes up 1%, but not to 7 where they started. And typically what the lenders are seeing come out of that is by the time they're at the end of the 2-1 buy down, they're ready to refinance. Something's happened with the interest rates and they're ready to refinance. So it gives them some options. And it's a little easier than the seller saying, well, I'll take $10,000 off the price and I'll sell it to you for $10,000 left. We're actually helping them that way. So those are some of the things that we see going on. Homes are sitting on the market a little bit longer. For a lot of the people that we've been working with here in the past, they're still in the mindset of what happened 2 years ago when people were paying $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 over asking price. We're not there. That's not happening for us right now. Are we getting multiple offers? Kind of depends on how it's priced. But we're not there. Houses are sitting a little bit longer on the market than they were in the past. They're not flying off the market. Sellers are seeing more concessions. What does that mean, concessions? So you may have a buyer that's made an offer on your house and there's some repairs that need to be made, and you're saying, oh, we don't want to do repairs. We don't want to have to go find somebody to come and paint that wall or fix that crack in the corner or whatever the case may be. How about if we work it out this way? We'll give you X number of dollars off the sales price, or maybe we work out a 2-1 buy down like we were just talking about. We want you to have some tools in your tool belt as well, as far as how can you work with buyers. Because if you're going to sell, you want to sell. You don't want to sit out there for 100 days and wonder, what the heck? Why aren't people looking at my house? Some homes are actually selling for less. So what we're seeing is, as we monitor the market, that's one of the things that we really love about the company that we're with, is they're very focused on the numbers. What we see as we monitor the market is that those houses that are selling, and maybe have been sitting a little bit longer, are selling for 5 to 10% less of what the asking price was. So this is not meant to say, oh, but it's meant to educate you so that you kind of can set your expectations of what does that mean for me? And then what else do we have here? More incentives. So we've talked about that. Keep in mind, we've mentioned this to you in the past. Boy, oh boy, HD TV. Are you watching it? You probably are. It's kind of fun to see. Fix this house, tear down that house, whatever the heck it may be. Well, they are too. So they're coming in there now and they're looking to see, what do I need to do to make this the way I want it? So we just need to be armed and ready for what are our expectations and how can we work with somebody. Maybe a battery. Okay, John.
Okay, so this is what's going on in the Dallas-Fort Worth metro area real estate market, according to the MLS. This report was generated in April. The next one comes out for May, I think on Monday or Tuesday next week. But this is a good representation. So the median price in this area is $405,000, which is up just 1.5% over a year ago at this time. Now, for those of you who are not sure, average price, median price is the price point right in the middle between the highest and the lowest. Days on market. So that number 48 means from the day that went on to the being available on the multiple listing service to the day that there was an executed contract. And that's about 48 days. That's just a few days more than it was last year. That's still really good. I can remember a time when it was 70 to 100 days and things like that. So that's still a really good. And then months of inventory. So that number says if no more houses came on the market, how many months would it take to sell these houses? 3.2 months. That's considered a seller's market. An average market is between 5 and 6 months. So that's still, they're selling pretty quickly, and it's still a seller's market.
But it does show that compared to 2.1 last year.
Yeah, I mean.
So they are sitting a little bit longer than
they are, and I think that it's because of the mortgage rates, which it's funny to me, you know, because we got so low to the 4s, and some people could do a buy down and get in the high 3s before, you know, just a year or so ago. And now it's at 6 3/4 to 8, depending on your credit score. I remember our first house, we were like 14% when we got a mortgage, you know. So, but people that weren't living then, they just go, oh my, it's so high. Mm-hmm. And prices are going up, so that higher rate makes it, you know, how much house they can afford affects them a lot too.
Okay, so let's how do we set a realistic asking price? That's the other part of that. So that's when you're working with a professional that is in their business, engaged in their business. And I like to say a full-time professional. We have some people that dabble in real estate, and they do other things, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you want somebody that's engaged in the market and can see what's going on, working on both sides with the sellers and with the buyers. So you want an agent also that can give you information about the supply and demand of the market conditions. What is going on out there? So like right now, for example, we're busy. This is our busy time of year. Typically from March until the second week in August, we are busy. It's all about school. Everybody's looking at, oh my gosh, I got to get my house on the market. so that people that are looking to move in because their kids are going to school, I need that to be available. On the buyer side, oh my gosh, I got to find the right thing because my kids are going to be going to school here in a short time, and I don't want to have to be worried about packing and moving and doing that when we're trying to get the school going. So it's all about school. Location, we all know that. Location, location. Size is going to be important to us. The condition of your home and the amenities that you have to offer. Is your house move-in ready? That's important. Think of yourself for a moment. You're not the seller, you're the buyer. If you walk into your home, try that today. Is it move-in ready? No. Can you sell it and somebody can see themselves living there, and they may have to touch up a wall or maybe change the flooring out a little bit, but other than that, it's ready to go. That's important because that helps them make a decision now versus the house up the street that's $5,000 more is move-in ready. I need that because I don't have time to work on it. So keep that in mind. Are you selling as is? I will tell you that in the state of Texas, there's really no such thing as an as-is contract. If there's a lender involved, as is not as is. If there's repairs that need to be made, a lender's going to want to make sure those things get done because they're thinking of it this way. What happens if we get it back? Can we sell it in that condition? So it's important to keep that in mind. And if you are saying, well, I am going to sell it as is, and I'm going to use one of those iFinders. Well, you can do that too, but you're going to get a price for as is. Just keep that in mind. There's always ways to work on those things. Pricing to sell generates interest in the market. So when you're looking at putting your house on the market, there's all kinds of resources that you have out there in addition to your realtor. And John will talk about that in a moment. But what's important to keep in mind is if you price it right, the chances of you getting more than one offer or getting a good offer are so much greater than if you want to be at the top of the market, because you know that that's going to happen for you at the top of the market. So if you don't mind, I'll use an example. I have a property in Fort Worth. The individuals that we're working with, we have visited with them over a period of 2 years. They've decided they're ready to go. They wanted to move to a property, move into a villa. We sat down together, we looked at what's going on in the market. Really and truly, the highest price that I felt was important, if we did a few things, was $495. We even signed a contract for $495. We were going to go ahead and get started that way. That weekend, the wife called and said, we love working with you, we want to work with you, and we want you to increase our price. And I said, okay, what are we talking about? She said, we want to go on the market at $525. And I said, oh my gosh, wow. I'll tell you, I have a really good suggestion for you, and I meant this in the most respectful way. I think you need to interview another real estate agent because I really don't feel I'm going to be your agent. I don't believe in that price. Well, my neighbors are telling me I'm nuts if I don't go on the market for $525, and we want that. And I said, well, let me think it over. Let's talk tomorrow. So we came to an agreement, still very high, the next day. I said, let's go on the market for 1 week at $510, and let's see what happens. Let's see if we can get any action. And if we don't get any, then we got to agree that we need to make some changes. Well, we got an offer about 14 days later for $495. And that was a tough pill to swallow, but the bottom line is we got an offer, and it made appraisal, because even though you decide you're going to be at $525, if the appraiser says, you're going to have to settle if you want to sell with what's going to be a good price. So keep that in mind as you're looking to figure out what's a good price for us. If we're at the top of the market, are we going to get action? If we're at a great price, are we going to get more action? Keep that in mind.
Zillow. How many of you know what Zillow is?
Who doesn't?
How many of you have looked to see how much your house is worth on Zillow? Well, they have a statement that say there could be an error rate of 7.45%. I've found it to be more than that. I've found it to be close to that. So always check with somebody like us to get a more accurate price. You can't rely on that. A lot of people like to search on it, but don't bank on the Zestimate being accurate. Actually, I like to look at Realtor.com and Redfin, and there's one other, and you'll see there some of them are close together, some of them are way off, but that usually is at overpriced in many cases. Sometimes, though, it's underpriced, to be honest with you, because, they use an automated valuation. So a computer looks at homes in a big, wide area. They have no idea what the neighborhoods are like and things like that. They're just pulling sales, so they really are not good comps all the time on what they're coming up with on that. We have a couple programs that we offer to our clients that you can call us. One of them is called HomeBot.
In your handout.
Okay, in your handout, and we can hook you up on that. It doesn't cost you anything, but their estimates are pretty right on. And you can, if you have a mortgage, you can enter it, and it'll calculate your equity and different things like that. There's home tips and fix-up tips on it, so it's a nice program to look at.
I think we have a couple of people here that are using that. Joanna, you're using HomeBot. Jim, you're using HomeBot. Pretty decent program. Again, John says it's just for you to get information, and on the flyer that's in your handout, after you leave, if you decide, well, I'd like to get some reports like that, keep in mind this is not a sales pitch. It's just information for you. Gerald, aren't you getting HomeBot as well? Yes, yeah. So you can just capture the QR code, and what it will do is give you an opportunity to set up a HomeBot so that you can receive that information. All right, so let's talk about this one. So we kind of moved on with who do we talk to and what are our expectations. Repairs and updates. So that's real important too, because I just said something to you. I said move-in ready. So what does that mean? Oh my gosh, I got to go out and spend $15,000 or more to get my house ready to go. Not necessarily. And that would be the right time for you to talk to somebody before you make that investment. Because oftentimes you're saying, if I completely do new flooring in my house, how much of that am I going to be able to recoup once I sell? And then we have to talk about, well, what kind of flooring are you talking about? Well, I'm going to put brand new carpet in all my rooms. You know what? Buyers don't want carpet anymore. And the sad thing is if you put brand new carpet in there, it's so fresh, it looks beautiful, you've done some painting, and then you go back a week later to visit the neighbors because you're going to play bridge or coffee or something like that, and guess what? You drive by your old house, and what's on the curb? Carpet that you paid for. So you want to check and see what's best for me. What's the best way that I can handle that? Partially remodeled. Well, it's not done. So I have a buyer that I'm working with right now, and he's got a specific budget. We were looking at a house last week and really liked the house. The layout was what he was looking for. We went into the master bedroom, and up against the wall was a box with the lamps. It was an old house. He likes older homes. You know where the sink and the vanity is actually in the master bedroom? Older. So the lamps that were going to go over the vanity were in, some of them were in the box, some of them out of the box, up against the wall in the master bedroom. The barn door that they were going to put up to close off the commode and the shower was kind of hanging like this. And the cabinets weren't closing. But that house had been on the market 39 days, updated is what it said. So that wasn't really very impressive. So if you're going to do something, you want to find out what's going to work best for me. Paint and flooring, you know what? Fresh paint is always good. It just neutralizes the whole thing. And people are just not excited about going into bright red rooms anymore, even though that was the thing, or purple. It's easier if you just neutralize it. So we have a house in Granbury, the one that's going to be on the open house this weekend. And in their master bedroom, it looked like they painted the bedroom sunshine yellow. That was the color, sunshine yellow. It was kind of the color of your jacket. But part of the room looked like it was just one roller brush. And then the other part of the room looked like maybe there were two coats there. And the ceiling was purple. Or, is that the right term? Purple. It was kind of purplish, yeah. So we had a conversation about that, and there was a big stain on the wall in the living room, and it looked like there had been a fire or something there. And I said, because you don't see these things when the house is decorated, right? I like to say it this way. If people are walking into a furnished house, there's a lot to look at. Oh, I love the way that couch fits. Oh, look how big that bed is in there. I've got the same thing. But when it's vacant and it's naked, everything shows up. So we got the stain on the wall, beige wall like this, and I said, what happened there? Was there a fire? Because it was kind of close to the fireplace, and she said, no, that's where our flat screen was hanging. I thought, oh man, it must have been hot, because it looked like smoke had up behind there. And then the bedroom, we talked about that, and I said, I really think we need to make a change in here. Let's neutralize that bedroom, because the yellow is just not making it work. Let's neutralize that and definitely neutralize the purple ceiling that had red lights going around the top. Anyway, we did that. It does look really good now, and I'm hoping that during the open house that the visitors will like it too. But it wasn't. But if I would have put it on the market like that, it wasn't finished. It needed work. Okay. And then consider the pre-listing inspection. So this is in your handout. And I want to share this with you because one of our attendees that's been coming, she made a plan a year ago that she was going to sell her house and move to Dallas, which she has done, to be close to her grandchildren. And we talked about a pre-listing inspection. And so shortly after that seminar that we did, she called and said, I think I want to do a home inspection. Can you send me a couple of names? And I did. And she called the home inspector out, and he came out and did a thorough inspection on her house, gave her a list of all the things that he felt would be a problem when she went to sell. And she's been actively working on it all year long. She had electrical that needed to be updated. Her HVAC was not operating properly, and just little other things that were going on. But now it's done. And she's got a list to show, I had a home inspection. These are all the things that I've done. Here are the receipts that go with that. And of course, the buyer's going to get their own inspector, and they'll probably want to negotiate some more things. But right now, she's pretty close. So if you're thinking in your mind, what does something like that cost? To have a home inspector come out, even if you're not going anywhere for right now, it's good for you to get it done for yourself. You're going to be looking at somewhere between $475 and $500 to do that. And if you're serious about wanting to do that, call us, and we'll share a couple names with you that you can call to come out and help you with that. But it's not a bad idea to have that pre-listing inspection.
Okay, so a lot of times we'll have one of our stagers come out and help, and they may say, let's move some furniture around, or let's take it out, or they'll come and say, take down all the personal pictures because they're distracting. I know you like them. Story just came to mind. There was a house back in our early days over in Wimbledon, and the guy that owned the house was a general. And he had a room with all of his awards and shaking presidents' hands and everything. And I can remember showing that house, or open house, and people go in that room and they just got stuck looking at it, and they kind of went, okay, and they left. So they didn't even really evaluate the house. That's what happens when you don't depersonalize it. We had another client who was a jet fighter pilot during Vietnam, and he'd won all these awards and things, and we had to get him to depersonalize a lot of it too. But
you don't want people feeling like they're coming to visit you, right? They want to come to see how they would fit in your house. But if you got all your stuff up, pictures of the family and all of your tchotchkes and those things that really bring you joy today, if that's what's there, then that's what they're looking at. They're not looking at your house. You want them to feel like they're coming to see how they would fit in there.
Clean, tidy and declutter, we usually recommend that we have several housekeepers we can recommend to come in and do what we call a make-ready cleaning, just to go in and really do a good cleaning job. Declutter, I mean, if we put our house on the market, we'd be decluttering. I mean, you try to clear
We
everything.
have done quite a bit of decluttering,
I know, but still, there's
That's
things
the
on the
business that
kitchen
we're in.
counter and things like that. I'm just being honest and real here.
So in your handout, one of our sponsors, Old Republic Title, there's a couple of different things that they've put together for us today, but there is something here that says staging and showing your home. Keeping that in mind, these are good tips that you can do. Aside from it being clean and removing the personal things, just things that are going to make a difference. We do more now than before. More now than before, people will say, what do you think is the best thing for me to do? If you've already found a place to go, it's better for you to move first. Because what that gives you is an opportunity to move your things to your new place. And if you've taken too much, you can bring it back. Or if you feel like, oh, I didn't realize that curio cabinet was going to fit after all, I think I'll go get that. You're not going to be inundated with people coming through your house, having to have it clean and perfect every day with showings. So that's something that's going to be really important to you. If you are one that says, well, I can't really move. I need to sell my house before I can move. And there's a pretty good sized group of people that feel that way. Then what we do is we negotiate the contract with the buyer's agent that you are going to have to stay until you close, and you need 2 extra weeks after that for you to do an estate sale. And then we have our estate sale people come in there and get right with it so we can turn that over. But there's some ways to do it so that you're not feeling boxed in.
The last item on this is household odors, pets, and that type of thing, cat boxes and things. One thing that we've done before is on Amazon you can buy what they call ionizers, and they do a real good job of making a room smell more neutral. It's there's hardly any even ozone or any sprays. They just still mask it. So an ionizer sometimes in extreme cases help with that. Or even a carpet cleaning sometimes helps with the house odors.
Okay, so let's talk about showings, because this is really important. Showings and open houses. A couple of different things. As you're used to, in most cases, a real estate agent is putting a sign in the yard that says your house is for sale. But I would tell you that 94% of our buyers are coming off the internet. People are not driving the neighborhoods to see if there's a sign in the yard. So you do have that choice. Do I want a sign in my yard or not? Sometimes people say, oh, I don't want my neighbors to know I'm selling. Can we just put it on the market? And I don't want a sign. Realtors are going to find your house as well as buyers online. That's important. Keep that in mind. There's some rules about the showings, especially this time of year. So most of us know we walked in here today and it was hot, right? And the one thing that I don't want happening for my client is that they have a showing this afternoon at 2 o'clock, and typically the showings go 30 to 45 minutes. And so you leave 20 minutes before, and you're trying to figure out, what can I do with myself while I'm gone? I wonder if they're even there. And you're driving around. I like to have you wait until the buyer's agent shows up. Because when they show up, they're going to have to open up the lockbox. And this is an electronic lockbox. And the benefit of this lockbox for me and you tells me who's coming and who's going. What time of day did they come? Because typically they're scheduling online to do that, but it's all recorded here. If you're at home and you say, oh, look, here comes that realtor. Come on in, come on in. We're leaving, come on in. What's happened is they've missed this step. And this is how we keep track of things, especially if there's stuff in the house. We want them to come through there. So the better thing to do is when you hear them work in that lockbox, is you just say, hang on a minute, give me 2 minutes, we're on our way out the door, we're going out through the garage. Let them let themselves in, because that way they got to lock it up and the next agent can come and unlock it. Rarely do we use a lockbox like this, a combination lockbox. The only time that we use something like this is for our contractors. So for an example, if we got a painter that's coming over this afternoon and we can't be there, and maybe you're out at a doctor's appointment or getting your nails done or something like that, and we've already introduced you to them, you know who it is. Or if you're not there at all, because you've moved already, they've got a code so they can get into the house. I don't necessarily need to record what's happening here because I know they're going. But when we're on the market and there's real estate agents accessing your home, this is what we use. This keeps us up to date. If we don't use that, what's the chances of someone saying, well, I can't meet you over there, but I know the code to get in, right? So we want to make sure that we're using the right kind of system to help you with that. Phone numbers, gosh. When you're living in the house, we are not going to authorize a showing because you're there. How do I know you're not taking a nap? And I say, yep, go ahead and go on over there. So when you're living there, the showing service is going to call you or text you, and you're the one that needs to confirm it. The only time they interface with us is if you're not taking the calls. Then it's not only them, but it's the agents calling us saying, why can't I get that showing confirmed? So it's important that you use a phone number that you're going to pick up. If you're living at home and you're typically using your landline, not your cell phone, the landline is the phone number that they need to have. And if you have hearing aids and you don't hear the phone that often, you need to make it a goal to check your voicemail. I have that going on right now. That's why I'm bringing that up. Because I'm having to now text the daughter, hey, can you call your parents? Because I know that they'll pick up her call and tell them there's a showing that's waiting to be confirmed. So phone numbers are super important to us. You can't be there. You hired professionals to help you sell your house, and you need to let your realtor be your realtor. If you're hanging around and waiting because maybe they'll have some questions, guess what happens? They will. If I go into a house and the seller's there and I've got a buyer with me, I'm going to ask you, so tell me about that crack on the wall over there. But here's what happens. Your realtor now is not part of a conversation that you've had, which is going to hurt their ability to negotiate for you because you told somebody something they didn't know about. So that's why we don't want you in the house when you're having a showing. Plus, as you're looking for homes yourself, you want to be able to walk around with your agent and talk about it, and I love that, and oh, I wish that didn't look that way, but I really like that. You don't feel comfortable doing that if the homeowner's sitting right there, right? There's no privacy. So you want to make sure and leave the house. Never let an agent in. Yeah, and avoid rejecting too many showings. So typically the first couple of weeks that you're on the market, that's the telling time. That says you're at a good price and people are interested in your house. And for us, and every agent kind of has their own benchmark, but for us, we want 10 showings in the first 2 weeks, minimum. And we really want an offer too. And if we don't get either one of those things, guess what? It's not us, it's the market that says something's not right there. And that's when we're going to sit down and powwow again and talk about, well, maybe we need to make some changes. Like 525 is not going to work for us. We might need to look at a price reduction. It's not always that, but we still need to have that plan together. Oh, so how many of you today have learned something that you didn't know before you got here? Okay, that's good. That's what our goal is, to share information.
There we go.
Okay, so showing feedback. We all want to know, well, what did they say? Are they going to write an offer on the house? Oh, gosh. Well, what did they say? I haven't seen anything. Here's the truth. Not all agents answer feedback. So it's hot outside right now. They may have 7 houses that they're showing an agent or a buyer this afternoon. We send 4 reminders for feedback because we know you want feedback. If they're not giving us feedback, they're not giving us feedback. Sometimes we'll call them, but here's what usually happens. Oh, gosh, I had 7 houses to show that day. Which one was it? What did it look like inside? Oh, gee, I don't remember. So feedback's important, but when we get it, if you have an email address, it comes to us and goes right to you as well, so we all know what they're saying. Typically, it says, did you like the house? Yes or no? How's the price? Good, bad, fair? Are you going to be bringing an offer? Yes or no? Comments. We make it real easy, so as they're doing it, they're taking care of those things. When we're out showing, we try to answer the feedback right away because we know that other agent is waiting, and so is the client. So that's important to us.
Done. Documents. So when you prepare to move and you're putting stuff in boxes and things, there are certain documents that you might want to set aside because a lot of these come into play when you're selling your home. The title company a lot of times wants to see them. So if there's a power of attorney, one of the people have a power of attorney to sign, we need to know that because the title company needs to review it. And typically, if it's over 3 years old, they won't accept it. Most banks don't accept a power of attorney over 3 years old. So that's one thing you want to make sure you keep updated. If there's a trust with the property in it, the title company has to see that, to see who the executor of the trust is. Do they have a right to sell the property? Death certificates. So common thing is one of the spouses is deceased, but the title is still in Ingrid Sullivan and John Sullivan. The title company needs to see a death certificate too, because that's the way the records would be showing it. Probated will, again, you need those set aside to do a closing as well.
Well, can I say something about that? Because I
No.
have that going on right now. The title company is not going to keep your documents, but during the time that you're having that transaction, they need to see those things. And when it comes to the will, they want to see the original copy, not a copy.
Yeah, most of those documents I mentioned, they want to see an original of it. They don't even keep it. You just have to bring it in and let them copy it or whatever,
Yeah,
but they need
same
to
thing
look
for
at
the
that.
trust.
Yep. Receipts, warranties, major repair receipts, and appliances. If you have a fairly new refrigerator, washer and dryer, and that's staying with the house, that's nice to have a receipt for that as well.
Yeah. So this property that we have, one of the properties that we have, the one that I told you about with the price thing, the buyer wanted to negotiate the washer, dryer, and the refrigerator. And the seller said, well, I don't want to give those away to them. I want some money for that. So we talked about them. They're nice looking. How old is your refrigerator? It was stainless steel. Well, it's probably 15 years old. Okay, so if you put it in the estate sale, it's probably going to get maybe 300, maybe. And then it had a really nice front load washer and dryer, same kind of thing. Beautiful stainless steel, looked really great. How old are your washer and dryer? Well, I think they're probably 13 years old. So I'm telling you this to set your expectations, because you will say, well, I paid $2,500 for that refrigerator and that's what I want for it. It's used. So what did we negotiate on that? We negotiated $550 for the 3 pieces, because it was easier for it to stay there. First of all, from the realtor's point of view, I didn't want them dragging that refrigerator out the front door and damaging the floor. So it was easier for it to stay there than it was to try to make more money on it. And maybe the buyer said, never mind. Here's something else that's important. So you've seen these before, we've talked about it, but different things that the buyers are going to want and the title company is going to want. A survey on your property. And as you look at this one here in the top right-hand corner, really what we want is something that's pretty current, and we want one that has a seal on it. It doesn't have to be a raised seal like a notary seal, but it has to have a seal on it because they want that to see if it can be insured. Mortgage payoff. You know, it used to be when we first got started focusing just on 55 and older, rarely would we have a mortgage on a house. Most people would say, oh my God, I haven't had a house payment in 30 years. But now we do see it more often because they've gotten a HELOC, home equity line of credit. And they updated the kitchen last year and updated the bathroom a couple of years before that. Or they got it just in case they needed some extra money, but they've never used it. But there's still a lien on it, which unbeknownst to you, the bank still says lien, even though you never took that money out. So that's important. Tax bills, are you current on your taxes? Have you paid the homeowners association? That's important. All these things factor into the closing. Lease. If you have an oil and gas lease and you're getting money, they still want to see the lease, and they want to see the paperwork that's typically a 11 by 14 that says oil and gas lease on it. That's only a few years old that we've had to produce that. The check, not so much, but they want to see the lease. Same thing goes for security system. If you got a security system and you're paying for it monthly, that's a lease. If you have solar panels on your house and you didn't buy them outright, that's a lease. Those documents have to come together so that you can consolidate that sale.
Ingrid, do we have a list of all of this?
Yep.
I didn't find it. I don't know where to look.
A list of the things that you have to have. It's something that we can send to you, Belinda. I can email that to you. So here's one you do have. Super, super important document, seller's disclosure. Super important document, just like it says, disclosure. This is where you tell your future buyer what you know about your house. You're saying, my house has cable wiring. My house has a microwave. My house has an outdoor grill. On the front page, you can see those columns that say Y, N, and U. Most important thing you can do here is don't guess. If you don't know if you have it, there's a U column there. Check it. I've just had 2 of them where they thought the daughter filled it out for them, but that wasn't what it was supposed to be. So this front page is yes, no, unknown. When you go to the second page, actually this document's 5 pages long. We just gave you a couple so you could kind of get a feel for it. Second page, we don't really care so much about what you don't know. We want to know what has happened to your house, malfunctions or defects. And there may be something where you say, well, we had a flood in the laundry room last year, but we fixed it. Important thing is to disclose that. Because let me tell you this, if you don't, your neighbors will. Hey, did he tell you that that back room flooded? No, I didn't see that. Oh, we better call our attorney. Super important document. Oh, last thing on there, Debbie put on here for us to, for you to see. We now have a program that's called Seller Shield. And if you're looking at this and thinking, gosh, I don't know what's on there, you can go on to Seller Shield. It's a free program, but there'll be, and it's been created by attorneys, and they will guide you through how to fill it out, but you do it online versus doing it.
It helps answer questions.
Yeah.
Legally, we're not supposed to help you answer questions on the seller's disclosure, but this program kind of clarifies what the sections are for.
Okay, so what happens next? Well, we've talked about a lot today, kind of building up to this, and we're still on the seller side. We're going to pick this up now. You're going to get an offer, hopefully more than one. You're going to negotiate the terms of the contract in a way that's going to benefit you as much as possible. You get an executed contract, so everybody's in agreement. It's all signed up. There's a date that stamps it. It's going to the title company. The buyer pays 2 fees. They pay a fee to inspect your house. That's called option fee, or to do their due diligence. And they pay earnest money. Earnest money is 1% of the offer that they made to you. So if it was $400,000, $4,000. Title company holds on to all that money until everything's said and done. You negotiate repairs. Keep this in mind. You have taken excellent care of your house. Nothing has ever gone undone. That buyer's paying that inspector $500 to find something. They will. The last thing that this, think of it if it were you and the seller and the inspector comes out and says, man, that's a pretty house. Is that going to be MasterCard or Visa? You're going to go, wait a minute, didn't you find something? So they will. They'll find something to negotiate with you. The lender financing period. So the lender's going to get all of the paperwork that he needs in the background. In the beginning, he pre-approves based on credit score, but there's other stuff that goes with that. So they have a little bit of extra time. And then we have an appraisal. So the appraiser is going to come out based and look at your house based on things that have happened, sold properties. And they're going to look at those numbers, and they're also going to evaluate them with properties that are like yours that are on the market, but typically the solds. And that's where we want to be in agreement. They're getting the same data we have, but we want to be in agreement so we don't have to negotiate a different direction. Title work. Back her up, Urselli. Title work, closing, funding, all of those things come together. The title company handles all of those documents for us and the money, and then they distribute the funds once we're funded. And the buyer takes possession of the house, unless there's a lease back, which we talked about earlier. You're going to stay there a little longer.
Most agents out there work with a variety of clients. I'd say the majority of our business is working with sellers and things, but we do work with buyers, and what we learn from working with buyers is what buyers like. And we get honest feedback, especially when we're showing a house, one of our houses, to a buyer, but we learn, what particular age group buyers are looking for, and that just helps us relay that kind of information to our sellers. Now we're going to talk about buying a home.
And while you're getting your slide open, I want to tell you that one of the things that was in your packet for you to look at later is another thing that Old Republic put together for us. It's a great guide that talks about different things for sellers selling their homes as well as buyers buying their homes. There's checklists in there and tips that you should consider as you're getting ready to buy or sell your home. Thank you, Robin, for making those available to us.
This is yours.
Okay, so as we look here, why choose an agent? So same kind of thing. Now we're flipping the side here. Now we're going to buy something together. And typically now we're talking about buying a house versus leasing. We are going to be looking for somebody that is familiar with working with older adults and has an idea of the different things they want. For example, they want to stay close to their church. They'd like to be close to their doctors. They want to be close to the friends that they play cards with, etc. Where can I find something like that? I don't want to find something I got to put a lot of money into, right? Familiar with active 55 communities. So we have the elements here at Veridian. We've got Ladera South, and then Ladera has expanded over to Chisholm Trail to DeValo Park. They're in Flower Mound. We have Del Webb. You want to work with somebody that knows what's the difference between that type of housing and one of these that's out here. That's important. Oh, great. Perfect. So we have some maps from the Veridian. We have relationships that have relationships with builders. Again, kind of knowing what's going on out there. Understand the nuances of working with seniors and their timeline. So like John mentioned earlier, a lot of times we're working with people 1-2 years before they're really ready to do anything. The people that we've listed the house for in Weatherford came to a downsizing seminar here 2 years ago. But they finally got to a point where they said, okay, we're ready now. Let's go ahead and do this. And then focus on your needs, because here's the most important thing. It's not about how fast we can move you out of your house and help you find something. It's about doing it in your time frame where you're comfortable, that we're working together, I'm looking, I'm gathering information. Otherwise, if it's a quick, then you don't feel like your needs were met.
So lock and leave living is mostly what active adults over 55 are looking for. They can be homes, just again like Elements at Veridian, and there's other Del Webbs and things. So they're made to be low maintenance, A lot of them have, most of them have exterior maintenance, so you don't have to worry about the lawns or fences and that type of thing. They have clubhouses with them. There's condos and townhomes that have all these types of amenities. Duplexes, villas, cottage, garden homes. So there's a wide variety of living options that are just easy to take care of. And then co-ops. Have any of you heard of a co-op? There's a couple of them in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
The Villages group.
Yeah, and so you have a certain unit, a 1 or 2 bedroom or a certain model, but everybody collectively owns the building and is responsible for some of the dues and that type of thing. And you pay a fee to get into that particular property depending on what size it is and that type of thing.
Okay, so lock and leave features. We always talk about that lock and leave because that's really when we're ready to make a change, we want less, right? Low maintenance. I want to go on vacation. I don't want to have to worry about what's going on. That's one of the things that Carrie has to offer in her community is that people are able to move in there and do what they want to do and not have to worry about new roof, new hot water heater, any of those things. So lock and leave, suitable for aging in place. One of the things about the house that we have in Granbury is that the builder, it's a custom build, built that house for a person that was planning on having a relative move in with them that was in a wheelchair. And as it turned out, that never happened, and that person moved. My clients moved into that house. They are older than 55, but for them, wide doorways are already there. Hard surface floors are already there. Easy access, it's just a really great floor plan, but it was already like that because it was a custom build. So you're looking for things like that. Lawn care. You know, maybe they mow the front lawn and we got to take care of the back lawn, or if there is one. Patio homes are another thing. What's the security? When you're moving into a active 55 community, couple things to think about. Important. So if it's a gated community, the residents are responsible for the roads because it's gated. If there isn't a gate, the city is responsible for the maintenance of the roads. So when you're looking for that lifestyle, you want to see what's included, what do I have to pay for? And I learned that when we started working out here with the Viridian, because it's not gated back there, but some of the others that we've spoken about are gated communities. Access to amenities, freedom to travel, peace of mind, and homeowners association. So if you haven't lived in a neighborhood where there's an HOA, anything that you're moving into now that's new, there's going to be one. And that's where things are controlled so that the integrity of the property is maintained. Here's some things right here. Who here plays pickleball? Nobody?
Who likes listening to the paddle going back?
Yeah. I'm telling you, that's a big thing right now. Pickleball's a big thing right now. Tennis, exercise, all kinds of things like this that are built into a community that offers 55 and plus living.
Yeah, a lot of people move into them because they have activities and the amenities that they like. You know, some people, we have friends that move to Del Webb because of the golf courses. And so there's different options that fit everybody's needs. And clubhouses are really popular where they have potlucks and gatherings get to know your neighbors really well.
New builds.
New builds. So what are the pros of buying a new home? Well, you don't have a lot of issues that you have with an older home, you know. They're free of pests. You don't have to worry about wood rot. Customization options. You can get them customized, you know. Do you want the island or not? What kind of countertops do you want? Can you put wider doorways in the bathrooms for me? Is it built, if it doesn't have grab bars, did they build the shower where they could install grab bars on it? So those are the type of things that you look for. You get new appliances. Energy efficiency is huge these days. It makes such a difference, not only in the HVAC, most of them have radiant barrier, which
Foam insulation.
cuts down, foam insulation, so they're very energy efficient. Now you're going to be paying more for those. That's some of the cons. Location, it depends on, maybe they're not as close to shopping or doctors as you want. Construction zones, that's when you buy early into a community, you got to be used to, it's going to be a few years before it gets built out. You might get a couple nails in your tires driving around, that type of thing. And typically the newer communities have smaller yards because most people don't want to take care of them that much. So you don't find very many new communities with large lots.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then the same thing, so if, some people are saying, I just want something smaller. I don't necessarily need a brand new home. I just want something smaller than what I have right now. That's called pre-owned. We've heard people say, I want a used home. It's not really a used, like a used car. It's pre-owned. And the things that you're looking at there is that they may cost you less than a new build. The neighborhoods are more established. The trees are bigger than they are when you move into a new neighborhood. You can remodel it to your taste if it's within your budget. That's important for you to know. And that a lot of times they're available sooner versus later. So before you came today, and John was just talking about new builds, I made a call over here to David Weekly. And if you haven't been over to the Elements, you really want to take a trip over there and look to see what they have. Their salesperson, Lori, is there today. But they have some spec homes that were built. So that means they're already ready to go. You're not waiting 6 to 7 months out. When you're buying a pre-owned, there's also, again, you're in a new area, but there's people that have moved in and out of those. And so those are called pre-owned homes. The other thing that is important, though, is we've talked a lot about what's your expectation, what is the integrity of that home. And because they're older, you want to make sure that you check them out real well. One of the things that we see a lot of right now is that homes that were built in the 70s still have cast iron pipes. And that's coming up more and more and more. You may have noticed the water department wants you to get insurance now on your water bill. So if something happens, it's not them, it's you. That's important. I had an agent call me this week on a house that I have listed in Arlington wanting to know if it's cast iron or PVC. That can be costly. So you want to look at that and see what's been done to that, not just inside, but underneath and above.
We had a client that had cast iron pipes and they broke, and it was freaky. They tunneled under the whole house. They could actually stand up under a foundation to work on that house.
Never seen anything
and
like
everything.
That
and I'd be worried about that after they fill it in.
Well, and the reason they did that is that once she had foundation work to be done first. So when you lift that house after that weight's been sitting on it all that time, that's when leaks occur. But in a cast iron, even though we had our plumber on the roof, underneath, everywhere it could go, it's very hard to detect a leak in cast iron. So they ended up having to replace it to the tune of $34,000. $34,000. Yeah. So it's just important as you're doing your homework. Keep that in mind.
So the process of buying a home, first steps, meet with your real estate agents. Mm-hmm. So they can find out what you're looking for, where you want to live. Do you want to be close to family, or what part of town do you want to live in? Figure out what you can afford. If you're not paying, even if you're paying cash, how much cash do you want to spend on that? Is that the best option for you? Or are you looking at financing? There's different financing programs. One of them is called a home equity conversion mortgage, which we're going to talk about in a minute. Get pre-approved with a lender, and that's what we do, is recommend very good lenders. I'm not here to knock big banks, but they're not real good at mortgages. Sure, they offer them. The problem with them is They got one guy working on your mortgage in Phoenix, one guy in Minnesota, and it's been my experience that 98% of the time, they never close on time,
that's
and
the hard
they
part.
ask you to extend the close and extend it, and that really makes sellers mad.
Well,
when they have to
and
do
so, really the comeback from you may be, I've worked with Jim for 25 years. He's helped all my kids. He's got all my investments. He knows me. But keep this in mind, once you're purchasing a property, Jim's going to hand your file off to Sue in Arizona, and Sue doesn't know you. And she's got a file like this to work on. So you're no longer a priority. But Jim was going to help you make the decisions. So keep that in mind. So we're getting close here on our...
What the heck is a heck?
yeah, what the heck is a HECM, right? What the heck is a HECM? So a HECM is a home equity conversion mortgage. And I will tell you that there are several of our clients that have used them for purchase. What that is it's a government-insured loan, FHA loan that's insured, and based on your age, which is kind of interesting, the older you are, the less you pay. How about that? The older you are, the less you pay. So based on the original price of the home, you may be paying 60% less to purchase it because the other part of that is insured through FHA. There are several people that have done that for purchase. Another term for that is reverse mortgage. And some people say, oh gosh, from reverse mortgage, they're so hard to sell. We've had several people that have had a reverse mortgage. It's no different than anything else, selling the house. You put it on the market, depending upon what the market is and how the house is, the condition, you sell it, and what's left over, the seller will receive. But it's been a nice way for people that say, oh gosh, I'd really like to have one more house. I'd like to have one of those new ones, but I don't want to pay $600,000 for it. So we've got more information that we can share with you on that if that's something that you're interested in. And I think you may have seen this next slide, and it's in your handout. So just briefly, John and I will go over this, but just the myths and misconceptions of a HECM.
A myth, the bank owns the home.
Yeah, borrowers continue to own the home. Never think that they own it, it's not yours. You have a mortgage just like you do when you buy straight out.
I've heard there's really high setup fees.
In line with other FHA mortgages. So FHA mortgages are a little bit higher than they're going to be than a conventional loan.
I heard you get locked in and there's no way to get out of them.
Yeah, borrower can end the HECM anytime they want. So again, like I just said, it's a traditional real estate transaction. You put it on the market just like that. The difference in the balance is when you buy a home and you're going through a loan, a traditional loan, the interest rates go down. The interest on the home and the balance goes down. When it's a HECM, it goes the other direction. So when you go to sell, there may be a balance on there that you owe that gets paid first, just like if you had a mortgage, and then the difference goes to you.
How about high interest rates?
Oh, what does this say? Interest rates similar to other FHA loans. They now offer a 5-point lifetime cap. It's a government-insured loan. So you want to work with somebody that specializes in home equity conversion mortgages. Jefferson Aldridge with Guild Mortgage is one of our lenders that can share more information about that.
And lastly, are they inflexible?
I don't know that they're inflexible. There's different things that they can do. Without delving into HECM too much, I will share, we had a client 3 years ago, that they wanted to buy a brand new build in McKinney, and he was much older than she was. They were in the range of purchasing though, and they had had some income tax problems in the past. So the lender was a little bit concerned about them making their mortgage payments, so they built that into the HECM loan so there'd always be enough, not mortgage, but property taxes. There'd always be enough there for the taxes. So they have tools to work with all kinds of buyers. The difference here, though, is if you want to sell your home or if something happens to you and you want your children to inherit it, they're not able to just go right in and take over and inherit it. It's a new loan for them because they're probably not 55, 62 or older.
Well, they can sell it,
Yes.
and as long as there's not negative equity, but these days, negative equity doesn't start happening until at least 15 years of owning the home. So usually you have equity left for the estate.
So kind of wrapping it up here, shorter on the buyer side here, but just some things to keep in mind. Just like before, the agent is going to meet with you and talk about what you're looking for. Where do you want to live? What's the ideal situation for you? How much money do you feel comfortable spending? And then what they're going to do is they're going to set up a home search for you so that you can start to receive properties that match your criteria. And when you start to see things that are similar, that's when you'll go out and start looking together. Unlike if it's a new home, they may say, well, the builders, I had somebody show up here just a little bit ago before we started our seminar and said, I want to look at all the models out here. Well, we're starting a seminar here, but they can go and look at the models. Okay. Agent sets up the appointments, so that's the same thing. We set up a showing to see that property and meet you there or take you there. When you decide to make an offer, we're going to run comparables on that home and others that are like it, so together we can decide what's a good price for us to offer on that home. We never want to go in too low. Keep this in mind. If the home's on the market for $400,000 and you say, well, I think I want to go in at $350,000, keep in mind if you insult the seller in the beginning, the chances of them wanting to work with you going forward may not be as favorable. So we want to look at those numbers to see what makes sense. And then again, there's always that chance that there could be multiple offers. So you need to decide what's your benchmark. How far are you willing to go? If it turns out I really want that house and there's 2 other offers on the table, what do I want to do with that? All that being said, the most important thing that you have is communication with your agent. So they're working for you, not trying to rush the deal so they can move on to somebody else. And then here's, just like with our seller, you'll get an executed contract, you're going to pay the buyer's fee, option fee, and earnest money to get to the title company, just like it shows, just like with the seller. Seller's receiving that, you're on the other end of that. Here you're looking at ordering an inspection and negotiating repairs, and your agent's going to help you with that. We always like to say it this way. Let's look at the things that are most important and list them at the top. Because the seller is not interested in a laundry list. Well, I want this fixed, I want that, I want everything on that inspection fixed. Because what will happen? I'm not doing anything. Because they want you to walk and move on to something else. So we want to talk about that together. What's really important? The big stuff. Financing period, same thing for you. You have to be pre-approved. So if you have not been pre-approved with a lender, it's always good to know what your buying power is. We don't take buyers out that aren't pre-approved. Here's why. If we take you out to show you a house that you just love, you want to make an offer on it, but you haven't been pre-approved, we can't submit an offer for you without showing that you've been pre-approved. Well, what happens if you are not pre-approved for that amount? It's really hard because you're never going to find another one like it that you're going to like that's going to be at the right price range. So we always want to do that ahead of time so that our expectations are set.
If you're a cash buyer, we need to get proof of funds because you'll have to submit that when we make an offer with the house as well.
Yeah, you might decide, well, I'm going to sell my house and I'm going to take the money that comes out of that and that's what I'm going to buy the next one with.
We done?
Yep. So next steps. So if you're thinking, okay, so we've talked about selling and we've talked about buying. What are the next steps for me to do?
Schedule a time to meet with Ingrid and I, whether you're buying or selling a home. Sign up for HomeBot. If you haven't signed up for it and we're interested, we have flyers and all you have to do is just call us and we'll get you set up for that. We have a downsizers club too. Some of you may have already signed up for it, but if you're interested in that, and you don't have to be ready to just downsize this year. You could be a couple years out, but this is to help with the process and think through.
May I just take a minute on that? So on the
Sure.
Downsizers Club, because there are several people here that have put their name on that list, what we're trying to do is we're trying to find, we'd like to have at least 10 people that are going to be in a similar area. So I've got 4 in Fort Worth, and I've got 6 over here, but we're trying to put something together. It's really more of a small group. And it's for people that are saying, you know what, downsizing's in my future. I might be a year or 2 out, but I want to take my time and I want to learn about the steps for this, which is where we're doing a small group once a month. And we're actually bringing in other speakers like ourselves to talk about financing, talk about home inspections, those kinds of things, as we're getting closer to making that decision that I'm ready to do something.
Yeah, and schedule a pre-listing inspection. That's one good idea, but even you can ask Ingrid and I to come out and walk through your house, and they may say, should we paint this room, or do we need to remove the wallpaper, or what kind of flooring? We're happy to help you, coach you through those type of things as well. If you're a buyer, again, you should meet with us. Decide on what exactly you're looking for and where you want to live.
So there's a handout that you have that says top 5 must-haves. That's one of the things that we would love you to take a look at. It's in your handout, in my stack up here that Debbie's got for me. There's a couple of different things there for you, but the top 5 must-haves, that's really helpful for your agent, for you to identify those things, because as you're looking at properties, we'll continue to go back to that and say, well, you said you didn't want to have a dining room. But the last couple of houses that we've been in that have had other things that you like have dining rooms, and you seem to like that. Do we want to change that because you've decided on a dining room? Or no, I don't want that big backyard. So that's really important to have.
And then we also talked about pre-approval. And even if you're thinking of cash, I would suggest you talk to somebody about the HECM, because we've had financial planners. First, if they don't know anything about it, they're going to, oh, you would never. They just think reverse mortgage. Oh, no. But when they've sat down and talked to the lender who can explain a HECM, they go, that makes sense. So you might consider that too as an option to paying cash.
Which we didn't say earlier. The idea behind the HECM is for you not to empty your investment account. If you have a home to sell, it's to sell your home and use that money towards the purchase of your next thing, but keep your investments going, not to deplenish those or empty those. Okay, this is the last thing that we want to tell you about. It's totally different than home selling. We have a new workshop that we're going to do. We're super excited about. So last month we did the wellness, brain health at the Botanic Gardens, and we talked about that as far as different ways that you want to eat to stay healthy. And we decided, let's do a workshop on that. Several people said, oh, I need to do that. I need to change my eating habits, my exercise, because I want to stay healthy. So we have gotten together with Shanika Baylor. Our slide's just a little grainy here, but there are flyers out on the front table for this. We're going to do a wellness workshop at 60 and Better, which is right over off of 30 and Beach. Nice location. And she's going to come in. She is she's a current pharmacist, and she also has chefs for seniors. What's really great about this is that she can work with you based on what your diet is, and she can help plan meals for you that are going to keep you healthy. But for us, she's going to teach us what are the things that we need to keep in our pantry if we decide we want to go to the Mediterranean diet or the heart-healthy diet. So it's like anything else, it's a free seminar. We have limited seating. So if it's something you're interested in, let us know within the next few days so that we can make sure and save a place for you.
And you can just tell me as you're leaving if you want to come and I'll put you on.
Yeah,
Okay.
Thanks. That's good, Debbie.
And
Okay.
fill out the
Okay.
feedback.
So everything that we've talked about today, we're hoping, I know it's a lot because we're discussing 2 sides of the fence, buying and selling. And we appreciate you spending the time with us to learn about these things. Let's talk about questions that you might have based on what you've learned today.
I have a question about appraisals.
About appraisals?
We've done appraisals before.
Okay.
And we had one where it was very, whoa.
Yes.
Okay, it was a low ball, and it was done when there was some short sales, there was people at bankruptcy, and I mean, it was a low ball. How much of these appraisals are subjective and how much is objective?
Well, that's an interesting question, Gerald, because if we price your house and we have a contract on it and it's priced higher than the average homes in the area that have sold with similar amenities, an appraiser's going to look at what have you done in the last 10 years to compare with all these others. And if it still comes in high, it's really hard to dispute an appraisal.
Well,
Because they're going to come back to us and say, show me how you got that number.
also you said there was a lot of short sales and foreclosures. There's not really that many of those anymore.
Hardly
but-
at all.
So that's makes a huge
Yeah.
difference. I mean, what was that, 2008, 9, 10? Actually, the market didn't start recovering until 12 or something like
Yeah.
that. So huge difference in what the value is now.
With a market update in our office just last week, one of the lenders in our office told the new agents that were in the classroom there, if you got into the real estate business because you want to do foreclosures, you're in the wrong business because there are hardly any out there. So that's where we are today.
Well, they need to do their homework. I
Right.
mean,
Beth, can you bring the microphone up? Sorry. We will make sure.
The appraisers that we've had, one of them didn't do her homework. She did the short sales, all this. The other one, who actually was more accurate, went to other subdivisions near us with a comparable home.
Right.
And then gave us a more realistic view. And I guess the question, the statement I need to say is, find out if your appraiser's any good.
Well, because they have access to the same data that we do. That's the thing. That's important to know about that. And what's happening now these days, since we've had this push with a shortage of inventory and the rush to the market, is some of the appraisers that are coming in now to appraise these properties are coming from Odessa. They don't even live in the area. So they're being told, go appraise this house in Fort Worth. But the appraisers have the last word when it comes to home sales.
And that's a huge point. If they're not familiar with the area, which probably that first lady wasn't. Yeah, and if any of you need an appraiser, we got 2 or 3 we'd recommend that are very familiar with the area.
Well, but I want to end that with this comment. If you're thinking, well, should we get somebody to come in and appraise our house? What I want you to know, and our appraiser would say this, that would be for your viewing pleasure, because the buyer's lender is going to go to their appraisal pool and get an appraisal. It's their point of view. So it's $500 for you to get an appraiser that you can show, here's what the appraisal is, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's what the outcome will be. What else? Yes?
Jerry.
Ingrid and John weren't so knowledgeable about already. I wouldn't ask you this question. On Monday night, we went to a home, and it was this celebration, food and everything, and they had a for sale sign in the front lawn. So, and I asked him, I said, well, how much do you want? I think 50,000 over. But he also likes Viridian. He went to Elements, and he has a contingency on a home. So he doesn't want to leave it. He wants to go to Elements. How long will this contingency hold? Because I think he's overpriced by $50,000.
Well, I will tell you, when it comes to contingencies, it used to be that as real estate agents for representing sellers, we didn't even have to consider that because they were selling so fast. So the whole idea on a contingency, if you're my seller and you've got an offer from somebody, but it's contingent on them selling their home, here's what we want to know. Is their home on the market? How long has it been on the market? Do they have an offer on their home? If they haven't done anything yet, I would advise you, let's keep looking.
Because they have an agent, they would name and everything.
Well,
On the front lawn.
Contingencies are, it could end up being a domino effect. Because if you can't sell until they sell, and what happens if their deal falls out?
I don't know. How long will Veridian put up with that, for that particular?
Well, I don't know that the Veridian is the one that makes that decision. It's the owner of that home will say, you need, by this date, you need to do one of two things. You either need to confirm and commit to the contract whether yours sells or not, and put an additional $10,000 down, or by this date, if you're not able to consolidate this contract, we're done.
He's gonna stay in his house.
Okay, what else? Yes.
It has nothing to do about the presentation, which was great. Could you tell us a little bit about what life in the Balancing Act is about? That's supposed to be on August the 1st.
Debbie, why don't you come up? Sure. And talk about that.
We're going to talk about, because falls are very prevalent with older adults, we're going to talk about the importance of balance and exercise. And we'll have some experts to teach us. Hopefully, we'll get to do a demo and do some exercises and learn some things.
That's our plan. Thank you. Lots? Yes?
I live in a very old house. It was built in 1954. And other houses have gone for sale on my block and in my neighborhood. And they put a dumpster on the driveway, and someone goes in and guts the place, does all the remodeling, and then they resell it at a profit. They're flippers.
Exactly.
Yeah. What do you think of that kind of a situation?
Well, we have somebody that oftentimes will work with us when we have somebody that has an older house or one that needs work, that will work with us. When we have a house like that for ourselves, we'll bring several investors to come in and take a look at it. And really, the neighborhood itself would like to have a more solid home there. As long as they're coming in and they're updating that home, now it could help you with the property value. Yes. If they sell it for more, yes, it's going to help you. It just depends on, there's a certain period of time as far as the dumpster being out there that it could be an advantage for people saying, oh, look, something new is coming. Or it could be an irritant because how soon are they going to get that trash thing off my street? Flippers, there's a lot of them right now that are out there. And some of them are in it just to quickly, as we say, put lipstick on a pig and move on to something else. And there's others that are out there that are truly updating that house to where it's something good for the next person to live in.
Yes, it seems like they really are. They tear out the bathrooms and put in all new, and then tear out all the kitchen cabinets and put all on.
Right.
It seems like they really are upgrading the houses.
As long as they're doing it not just inside. As long as they're looking at, is there something that's going on underneath that needs to be adjusted? Because if they're doing it to make it pretty inside to get it sold, but the rest of it is still, then that's not a good thing. But you can't tell.
It's still from 1954.
Yeah. Well, but those are popular. I mean, I'm working with someone that I mentioned earlier, then he wants to buy a house that's going to be 1968 to, I think, 1980. That's where he wants to be. He's not into anything new. He likes the older look, the older feel. He just doesn't want carpet. No carpet in the house.
No, there's no carpet in my house. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Jim.
Yeah, who are your high offer investors, you were saying? Do you have a group of people that flip houses that you're used to, that you say like, okay, this guy really doesn't want to upgrade his house. It's an older home, it needs upgrade, just wants out.
Yep. So like John alluded to earlier, for ourselves, the Sullivan team, before we ever got this other option, we have 5 investors that we work with on a regular basis. And typically what happens, Jim, if you were that person, we would set up an appointment, okay, at 2 o'clock this afternoon from 2 to 3, you can come and view this house, and by 6 o'clock this evening, we need an offer. Now what happens is they know that they're all competing with each other because they're showing up to look at your house, and while they're leaving, somebody else is coming in. That's one way that we've done that. And it's worked out well for us because they're people we know and have done business with a lot. Then our company came out with iFinder, and iFinder is the investor group that's got 300 investors in there. So it could be a real estate agent that's an investor. It could be Joanna that's an investor. But they're there and they have to show that they have cash ready right now to even be a part of it. And so when a house like that comes up on the market, it's, for lack of a better way of saying it, it's pitched out to them, and they've got 7 days to make an offer, and that's when we as the receivers are getting, okay, we've got 10 offers here, and we work it to see what's most advantageous for you. But yeah.
What's happening in my neighborhood is the houses are investor houses. You know,
Right.
I'd say 50% of the houses are rented.
Yes, I was going to say that, yeah.
And because it's that
Buy and hold.
It's that size, you know, it's under 1,500 square feet, you know, and they rent, so people buy them, fix them up, rent them, and that's where the neighborhood's going to. So I'm around a bunch of renters now.
Right.
That is
Well,
frustrating.
I might as well sell it to somebody that's gonna do the same thing, I guess. That's what they're buying. I'm constantly getting offers, you know, just
Oh, yeah.
unsolicited offers in the mail.
As are we,
I
or
mean,
phone calls.
just constant. And some of them have real numbers on them. Some of them just, you know, call us, some of them will have a number on there saying, you know, let us know if you'll sell it for this.
And typically that number is high, then they'll come in and beat it up. But when we get multiple investors, a lot of times one of them may be going, I need another house. So his offer will come in higher than the others because he doesn't have any inventory to start working. And some of them have their own construction crews. And if those guys aren't working, they're paying them to keep them busy. So they may pay higher to get a house to do it.
And a lot of these folks too, I mean, just like that one lady was saying, I mean, they'll get the house.
Right.
I mean, you know, okay, I mean, they're taking everything out, putting
Right.
new flooring in, new appliances in, new AC unit. I mean, they're spending some
Yeah.
serious money here. And
Well, but the thing for them that they have to consider too is that when they're making an offer on your house, how long are they going to tie up their money? So not all of them have the cash in the bank. They use what they call a hard money lender that has a line of credit for them. So they've got a certain amount of time to get in there and get that house gutted and updated so that they can get it on the market and repay the lender.
I think we had a question back here.
You done?
I just wanted to ask, just to embark on what the lady had mentioned about, you know, the older homes being renovated. You know, I think she mentioned 1954. So I think what you were gonna build on that, Ingrid, is you're saying the foundation is very important just as much as the renovation, right?
Yes.
Looking under the carpet, you know, that with the foundation of maybe shifting in the house and so forth. So, I mean, that needs to also be renovated as well, right? Or looked
Well,
at?
it does, or if the buyer if they're buying it and renovating it, and they're gonna sell it, versus Jim was saying, hold it, rent it. If they're gonna sell it, if they're gonna flip it, then the agent and the buyer need to be educated enough to check the foundation, the plumbing, those kinds of things to make sure that they were addressed, even though it looks beautiful inside. Because we've had some recently that's not been the case. Yeah.
How much is the lifetime warranty on a foundation repair? Because I've had, well, actually 3 different foundation repairs.
Okay.
And it's still horrible.
Well, so that's a great question. How much is the lifetime warranty? The lifetime warranty, if this is your house and you had piers right here, this is the lifetime warranty, not this. And a lot of times sellers think, oh my gosh, it was my whole house that was a lifetime warranty. No, it's just the 10 piers that they put in on this side of your house. Those are warranted, but nothing else.
Well, what if it didn't?
Well, so they'll come back and they may make a little adjustment based on what they put in over there because they got to honor the warranty, but they're also going to say, oh, by the way, now that that's happened, you need 6 more here. That's how that works. And there are some companies that were out doing foundation work that were in and out of there, and they're out of business. So now there are foundation companies, we work with one, that will come in and buy the piers that you have, warranty what you have there right now, and then make the adjustments that are necessary. And when you go to sell your house, you also want to make sure you've got a foundation company that's still in business because your new owner wants that lifetime warranty. Yeah.